about our return. We really appreciate your making the effort to be here. We know that the timing isn't great here at 4 o'clock, but we really wanted to get this meeting in and see if we can't answer some of the questions that you have as you are making your decisions for return on December 1. We need to acknowledge, of course, that we are in a pandemic at a time when we are seeing a unprecedented, really, increase in numbers. And so we recognize that it could be at any time, as we look at the schools around us, that we will be going to full remote learning. In fact, the governor might be making that an announcement that would put us back into remote for some time. But despite all of that, we still need to be prepared. And so you still need this information, and we still need the information about how many of you will return to face-to-face so that we can get our rooms ready to receive our students in the safest way possible. So understanding that, and I think we all recognize that, news, especially I think DPS went remote today, Troy, Bloomfield Hills, there's so many schools that have done this. We recognize that, but we will be ready, okay, on December 1, because we are going to ensure that we have these rooms ready and our teachers are ready to return and our rooms are ready. What we can't control, okay, are those numbers in the pandemic. What we can't control are, unfortunately, some of the staff that is getting sick or needs to be quarantined. And so staffing is becoming an issue, as I'm sure a lot of you know from your own personal experience through your places of employment and job status, that there's, for those of us who are back in person learning, that we're finding that more and more because of this increase that we are getting quarantined. So we understand all of that. And all of that is unfortunately part of our new normal here, but regardless, we're going to be ready. And it's no excuse for us and me as the principal, and Delois and Mike and I as the administrative team, not to be ready to return. So thank you for coming. We really, truly appreciate it. We're going to try to answer as many questions as you have. But before we do answer those questions, we think it might be a good idea to give a little report on some of the things that we've been doing. So I promise this won't take the entire time. In fact, I don't know that it'll take more than 15 or 20 minutes, but we're going to show you some of the things that we're doing and some of the plans that we have, and then we'll open it up and try to answer any question that you have. I can't promise that we will have all of those answers, but I do promise I will get those answers for you and that we will research them. You have a wealth of information about your children and about what you need here as the Seaholm community. We want to hear that as well. So we're happy to we're going to be taking notes ourselves to see your thoughts on this. And I think together as a team, we're going to make it work. And so I appreciate your being here. We are going to record this, I think, Mike, so if you would make sure that we're doing that so that parents who could not make it to our meeting can watch just this real lovely presentation. Groves High School will be also having a presentation and answering questions this evening at 7. Okay, so just so you know that all of that is going on. So right now I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleagues, Mike and Delois.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So Mike and I have been working on some committees with teachers, and we've been looking at our level of preparedness when we come back, whenever that date happens to be. And we've specifically been looking at the classrooms and what needs to be in place for us to have a school return with a happy and healthy environment. So we've been working on a classroom and we've been setting it up with the desks socially distanced from each other. And they've also had some added safety features. Mike, if you want to go to the first slide. So this is the layout for the rooms with the desks 6 feet apart. And as you can see, we have our students, in quotes, in the seats there, ready to learn. And they're all in their places. They're all masked up and ready to learn. You can see the distance that is between them, side to side and front to back. And you're also getting a little glimpse of the protective barriers between the workspaces that it will exist in the classroom. There will be defined workspaces for the students and for the teacher. And you can kind of get a faint outline of that in the picture that's to the left. There's a plexiglass there. And then just a little bit to the right of that, there's a larger piece of protective film that is on a movable frame.
And we will have more specific pictures of those two specific things as well.
Correct. So if you get just that visual there of, the distance, how much area is covered in the classroom, and also kind of an idea of the number of students that will be there. I believe this classroom is laid out with 14 desks, and that's probably the maximum we will be able to fit in any one classroom when the students return face to face. It's 14 plus the teacher, so we're talking 15 in a room at a time.
And Delois and I spent some time going through the different classes, and with the initial survey return of 25% of people who are opting to go online, and again, that's only about 70% of the return so far. With that, and then half of that responding, we feel confident that in many, and more than many, most cases, classroom of 14 will be adequate to get everyone in the AM cohort and the PM cohort.
Right, and I just want to reiterate that the face-to-faces this time is for half of the students in the AM and half of the students in the PM, whatever that breaks down as. So that's how we are basing our numbers for the room setup. And as you can see in this picture, it's just a close-up of the desk with the little markers on the floor that indicate that the distance is 6 feet front to back and side to side, so that if a student accidentally moves a desk out of position, that it's easy to get back into the spot that it needs to be. And we can go to the next one. We're going to show you some of the technology that we are working to put in place so that the Zoom in the room concept can continue to work as we have half of our students face-to-face and the other half zooming into the classroom. So what you have there is a very large, it's almost like a big screen TV, but it acts much like a touch screen computer. It's called a Clever Touch board. And atop the Clever Touch board is a webcam. Now the Clever Touch does act as a computer screen. It will show very specific parts of the lesson that the teacher wants shown. And we have adapters that link those to the desktop so that whatever is shown on the Clever Touch can also be displayed on the computer. So that way, whatever lesson the teacher is delivering, the students that are in the room and the students that are on Zoom can see what is being shown on the Clever Touch. The webcam is to show the classroom. So if there is a discussion, we have several classes that utilize a seminar technique. And so the webcam on the top of the Clever Touch would allow students that are Zooming from home to have that connection with the students who are in the room as discussions are being held in class. Want to go to the next one, Mike?
As we picked up when Delois and Kyle and I visited Dr. Akeem and the staff at BCS, they gave the different groups the Zoomies and the Roomies. So, we thought that was pretty nice.
It's very clever. So part of the technology for our Roomies and our Zoomies is so that they're able to hear. So the teacher will be able to have, and you can go ahead and flip to that, Mike, we'll have a lanyard with a microphone, and that will project their voice into the classroom so that they can be heard from their workstation, which is going to be at the front of the room, and also so that that voice can be picked up by the Zoomies that are logging on through their at-home classroom. So the microphone plus the enhanced speakers will make the classroom have a feel that, you know, you're right there, that you can hear, that there's no loss of sound and audio when there are classroom discussions happening and when the teacher is giving his or her lessons for the day. And I believe the system is the Foxlight system. And as I said, all classrooms are getting new speakers. I believe there's 4 in the system, plus this wearable microphone that teachers will have on as they are instructing.
And
Can
as
we go to the
Delois said,
next?
that neckless microphone is directly into Zoom. So it goes right into the computer system. So the kids at home, they don't have to worry about, you know, their teacher wearing a headset. This is wireless. They can move around the room to the Clever Touch board, to the document camera, and it's a direct feed into the Zoom audio for our students at home.
Another piece of technology, as I mentioned, a lot of our classes rely on a seminar format, and they have discussions and, you know, just class conversations as part of their curriculum. The blue snowball, that's what it's called. The company is Blue. The actual device is called a snowball. And as you can see, it has that round feature to it. It will be present in the classroom so that it can pick up the voices of the students that are sitting in the room. And it will also be piped through to the Zoomies, and they will be able to hear what's going on in class, because as we said, we don't want the students who are not present in the classroom to feel as though they're missing out on something. So these little devices we will have set up so that the students that are there can almost, you know, have a conversation with the students that are at home, and there's no loss of, you know, sound or audio as the discussions are happening. We've tried this a couple of times, and we've had a great success with our TOA, our technology guru, to make sure that we can utilize this and make the best of it. So again, the students that are not in the room will still have that full classroom experience. Mike,
This
did you
was
wanna
the greatest concern of some of our teachers about running things like seminars and class discussions, so they weren't just being centralized for those who were in the classroom. So having both been in the classroom for these and also been on Zoom, these microphones really do give a feel that if you are sitting at a desk and you ask a question, the people on Zoom will hear the same question. You can have a conversation between a Zoomie and a roomie. It is, you know, a really great system.
So again, as I started the presentation, we talked about that there are defined workspaces between the students and between the teacher. And as you can see that there on the desk, we have the plexiglass that is the shorter one that, you know, really comes up to where the teacher station is, that they are working at their laptop. And then just beyond that, we have the taller one that is on a frame that can be moved, you know, across the front of the classroom as a teacher may need to extend their workspace. But again, it's very defined areas, kind of that separation, so that we know that the physical distancing is what is best in terms of keeping everyone healthy in this current environment. So there are going to be those in every classroom, and that we are, yep, as you can see, Ms. Hall there, Teacher Hall, doing her welcome back presentation with the defined workspace and the barrier. And again, if she needs to slide this over because there's part of the presentation that takes her farther away from the board, she can do so. Again, at the desk, at the sitting workstation, you can see that the plexiglass barrier is there. I hope you can see that through that kind of a picture, the clear picture there. So then we have some of our PPE, and this is just really just to let you know some of the cleaning protocols that we have in place, that once students exit from a class, the desks and all of the touch points will be wiped down. And these are some of the materials that are being provided in every classroom for the teachers to use. The teachers will be responsible for cleaning the classrooms for the next set of students that come in. And there are gloves and face masks there, reusable gloves and a face shield. And Mike, if you want to go to the next one, it just shows the tub of wipes with the disinfectant and the cleaning solution on the wipes that the teachers will use to clean the surfaces. And there's been some concern about being able to get the rooms together between classes, but we've done a dry run with that. And Kyle was able to wipe down all of the desks and the touch points within about 2.5 minutes. There may be some additional points that would need to be wiped down, but really in under 3 minutes, the room is disinfected. The protocol for these particular wipes state that the surface is to be left wet, and as it dries on its own, it activates the disinfectant part of the solution that's used there. So really, in under 5 minutes, we can turn over classrooms and have them ready for the next set of students to come in to a clean and sanitized area. So that's the presentation of the classroom, what it will look like when students come back for the face-to-face portion. Mike or Kyle, do you have anything before we ask for questions?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate and thank Delois and Mike for all the hard work today. Mike and I are the ones, it was funny, we were taping those little things down at each desk and saying it's not something we saw us doing, back in the day when we decided we'd go into education, but we're going to pitch in and do everything we can to really ensure the safety of your children and our students. We're family here and we don't want anyone to feel unsafe. Same with the staff. These are the things that keep me up at night, is making sure that we are safe, both the students and the staff. And I think that we're doing everything you can, and I think that you can see we are, but if there are things that you feel we also should be doing, would love to hear from you, and we'll consider those things. We have a goal, an instructional goal for that room, and that is to make the students who are virtual and remote and the students who are in the classroom to feel like a unit, like they would in their under normal circumstances, that the teacher is creating this classroom environment that is unified and that is warm and welcoming. And so the sound system that we've introduced really does that. The students, when you see the students on the Clever Touch board, sometimes, like if I was an English teacher, so if I was going to have this long discussion about Moby Dick, then I would want to have the kids in the Zoomies on the Clever Touch. And so they're quite large when they do that. And when they speak, the person speaking becomes even larger, and they are heard so clearly through this new sound system. It is not, you don't have to wonder what they're saying. I mean, it's very clear what they're saying. And so that's part of the point, is can we communicate, and can the teacher easily communicate and easily access all of this information? I know from some of the parent comments and questions that I've received that there was a concern that the student would bring his laptop in and put his headset in, and then everybody would Zoom. And that, I'm not saying that won't happen ever, because if you wanted to have all of your students do a breakout session, you could do that. So you could have some of the kids in the classroom and some of the kids on the Zoom also in a breakout session. And that might be really nice to do. It would not be done all period, but it might be nice to do for a portion of the period so that you continue to have that unity and that camaraderie. Also, remember that we can't put desks together, right, like we would have before in a collaborative way to have a meeting. In fact, we have to remove all the tables most of the tables from the classrooms and instead introduce the desks because that's, it's easier to keep that social distance. But our goal, our instructional goal, is to continue deep and meaningful learning that is relevant and rigorous, and do so in a way now that is the hybrid, that we have some students online and some students in the classroom. And there is not we don't want to privilege one group over the other. We are supportive of our parents' choices. So I have no problems with people's choice. We all have individual choices that we have to make for our families, and I respect those and honor those. And so we want to make sure that we are honoring all of the students who are in the classroom. So that's our goal. And we're hoping that our Committee on Instruction and our Committee on Procedures is working toward making that goal a reality. We also are working on finalizing some details about attendance and about temperature checks and about all of those kinds of things. We are working out and coming, with Groves to have a unified, consistent, and safe approach to welcoming back our students, which is our goal. We miss our kids. We want our kids in front of us. That's what we're looking for. So it's now 4:22. So that was about 15 or 20 minutes. And unless Mike or Delois, do you have anything you want to add? And we'll open it up to questions.
No, I think we'll cover most of those in the questions that are already in the chat.
Okay. All right, we'll start those. Do you want to, it might be easier to put the questions in the chat room, at least here at the beginning. So we'll answer those questions and see if we answer your personal question. And then as we go through, there might be some time to explore some of those as well. So
our first question, the classrooms look great. How will the students safely enter and exit the class maintaining social distance? So I know that I'll let Delois get on to the end of this one, but I know that we have a plan for staggered dismissal and staggered arrival in the hallways. We are also talking about doing things like dismissing by row. So Delois, if you want to continue on.
Yeah, exactly that. It's almost going back to elementary school a little bit. The students are going to need to be dismissed by rows. We're going to have staggered dismissal every other classroom. It will generally be an odd even situation. The odd classrooms will go first or second. And then in the hallway, we will have defined ways to walk, divided hallways, stay to the right. We will have the social distancing markers on the floor. So yes, we've taken all that into consideration into how students will move through the school. We've also talked about things like arrival time. So if a student arrives early, where will they go so they're not crowded together? So we have some areas that we are identifying where students will go, and they will be socially distanced while they are waiting for their school day to start.
In fact, we have been mandated by the state that we at all times have to basically know where our students are. And so they must have a seating chart, a particular seating seat that is reserved for them in each class. So then when time comes for contact tracing, that we can easily and efficiently and effectively let our community know should we have any kinds of concerns. However, the 6 feet that we are following should help with that, because exposure, according to the CDC and the guidelines, is under 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. And so that's our goal, is to avoid that, so that in the case that some student does come down with COVID or test positive for COVID, that we're not quarantining every single person around him. That we have assured the safety by keeping that distance between them, and that's our goal.
Next question, are 100% virtual students in the same Zoom sessions as the cohort Zoomies for each class? Yes. So we have the hybrid. Half the students are in an AM and half in the PM, and your student will still be assigned a cohort if they are going to be in online only, but they would, instead of coming in half the time and being on the Zoom half the time, they would just be on Zoom full time, but they would still be on Zoom with their same classes. They won't be getting a new schedule. There's no specific individualized online classes. So if they have, integrated math 1B with Miss Moon, then that's going to be in person or online. And if they choose to go all online, it's with the same teacher, same hours, same classroom. Next question, will science labs still be run? If yes, how?
Okay, we will plan on doing labs, but only if they can be done without sharing equipment and at a socially distant, in a socially distant way. So I've talked to Brad Shuprai, our science department chair, and he has developed, along with the science teachers, effective ways of doing that. So we are purchasing more equipment as needed. They are doing some labs that they might have done together. They're going to do virtually. The question remains that it's not possible to run it exactly as it had been before. But the point is to make sure that everything is sanitized between uses and that the students don't come in contact within 6 feet for more than a few seconds as it would take to pass by somebody. So that's the goal, but we will have science experiments. We will work with that. It'll be a combination of the virtual as well as the hands-on that we enjoy here at the school. And sometimes they are talking about getting kits to the students so that they could do some experiments at home, okay, safely. We promise not to destroy your kitchen, but we're looking at those kinds of things as well. So the science teachers are very innovative, very creative, and we're going to find ways to make, again, meaningful labs occur.
Okay. When will hybrid students eat lunch? From the schedule, it looks as though they're being transported home on their lunch break.
Yeah, so that's true. The students will not eat lunch at the building. Our plan, and I need to confirm this with food service, but our plan is going to mirror that of the elementary in that they pick up a bag lunch on their way home. So the lunches will be prepared in a bag, just something on the table that they can grab and go right out the door, either to the bus or to their parents' car or to their own vehicle, and then take it home and eat it. So there will be no eating on the premises.
Or the bus. Okay.
But Delois, how long is the gap for transportation and lunch? It is, I can't pull it up.
You know, I looked at it today and I don't recall. It's over an hour. It's greater than an hour.
So with our current transportation times, we believe that there would still be enough time for transportation and to eat before the next hour begins.
Correct.
So next question, what is the plan for testing both for staff and for students?
Testing for, okay, go ahead.
I'm assuming this means COVID testing.
Okay.
Is that I'm hoping that that's the question. We are utilizing a self-reporting system called Clear to Go, and staff and students are to complete the questions each day before they enter any of the school buildings, self-assessing their particular symptoms or their particular health, hopefully in the absence of symptoms. And if they do exhibit symptoms, the app tells them do not report to school. You know, take care of yourself and we'll see you when you get better.
So in terms of what's required for testing, students would not be allowed to return once they have symptoms unless they have quarantined for 14 days. Like if they go and they have the test and it's found to be positive, the Oakland County Health Department contacts us, you know, so there can be contact tracing. So that occurs within a couple days of the test. We get contacted, we reach out, then we will take a look at the student's whereabouts during the day, what period he's in, ensure that all the protocols were followed, that kind of thing. So if we have to have some students quarantined, then we reach out and let those students know they have to be quarantined. But the student, if he's not sick, like if he's sick, then he's going to need to rest and sleep and do all of those things. If the symptoms, as they often are with the younger kids, are such that they could learn remotely, then they'll simply shift into the remote status and then zoom into their classrooms, which is one of the benefits of the program.
Next question, if a hybrid kids miss school for illness or other things, I assume the Zoom in with the Zoomies? Yes. So if you are a morning cohort and you're supposed to be in class and you wake up not feeling well, you may Zoom in with the morning the PM cohort. So if you can't make it into your normal hybrid time, you can come in online, but you cannot come in person. So if you're supposed to be there in the morning and you aren't feeling well, but you feel better by the afternoon, you still have to go online in the afternoon. But if you are there in Zoom when you're supposed to be there in person, you will be counted as long as you are participating. So when can we expect a commitment to getting high school and face-to-face when things move to orange? Will promptly be done. The window from August and November was missed. Kyle, so have we gotten a plan about, what our transition if we go from red to orange?
From red to orange or orange to red? I guess I'm not.
So if we go in, if we move to red,
Then we
what's going to
go-
be our
then we go
transition
back
back
up.
to face-to-face? Because we can go face-to-face in orange. So how are we going to quickly make that transition
Back to
in person for the,
In person.
hypothetically for the first time?
right. I think they told me, we were just in a meeting prior to this meeting, that they would be assessing the situation should that happen every couple of weeks, okay, to see where the numbers are, where we are. But it looks like maybe in 2-week increments is a logical, at least, process that they feel they're going to be following at this time. But one of the things that's important is that we are able to, and I think that email came out from the district just recently, be able to pivot back and forth because of various situations that might occur as we go up and down. But I think 2 weeks was what they just told us at a meeting prior, that they'll evaluate every 2 weeks.
Okay. If your student goes with hybrid and it isn't working out, can they go back to hybrid? Which I wonder if they meant, can we go back to online?
Certainly, if you choose hybrid, but say for some reason the situation in your family is such that you feel like you're better off in the other, going back into virtual or remote learning, you can do that. You just can't do it the other way, because if you're in virtual, you're committing to virtual and remote for the trimester, because we really need to plan for the cohorts, and we can't have people coming and going. It's just too difficult. But any student who is hybrid can go into Zoom land, okay, pretty easily, and is expected to do that. In fact, if they get sick, or if they have some other reason that they're quarantined, that they would want to do that. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. So if you're in hybrid, you can Zoom into the classrooms remotely at any time, back and forth. But if you're in the remote, if you've chosen remote learning, then virtual learning for the whole trimester, it's for the whole trimester. You can't come into the building.
Okay, we have another question. To explain the need for the 100 to 105 minute break between AM and PM cohorts. I read the breakdown with the number of minutes for lunch, teacher prep. That's also, so that 100 minutes is to also get our students to and from the building. So that 100 minutes is students leaving the building, taking the bus home, getting home, eating lunch, and then preparing for their next class. So we want
and there's also another, fleet of buses that are going to get students to bring them into the building for the PM. So we need to have a cushion for transportation. So yes, it is for lunch, and it is for cleaning and prepping for the next set of students. But a lot of that is the transportation time that's been built in to get the kids into, out of the building from the AM and into the next group in for the PM.
Yeah, so that is why that block of time is big. We want to make sure that every student has a 40-minute lunch, as well as gets enough time to get to and from the building. Will current schedules change once the hybrid virtual decisions are made? They should change. The time will change, because once we go to the hybrid, we'll go to the schedule with that large lunch block. But if your son or daughter is taking classes and they choose to go hybrid or they choose to go virtual, their physical selection of 5 classes will not change, because all those classes will be available both hybrid and virtual.
Okay, I think this question we kind of covered before, keeping the students out of the hallways we talked about, and I'll just repeat it. We were going to have staggered dismissals. We're going to have classrooms dismiss, odd even, to kind of, keep all of the students out of the hallway at one time. As I mentioned, classrooms will dismiss almost like an elementary school, row by row, so that all the students aren't crowding for the door at one time. We're working on putting signage on the floors to have, the directional hallways, and to make sure that students, keep to the right, depending on which hallway they're in. So we are doing as much as possible to keep the kids socially distanced, and to make sure that they are not all crowded together and, breathing the same air on each other.
We also
And I
will
just
have our
like-
HOW monitors,
Right.
the administrative team.
Right.
Correct.
And we'll be monitoring for their mask use. It really is required. If you choose to come in, if you choose the hybrid, you are saying that you agree to wearing your child to wear a mask all the time, because that is just the safest thing for the people in the building. And so that is required, and should in the hallway, we will remind students, should that not happen, if there should be a problem. So I'm hoping that, you will help support us with that, because if we have too much of a problem, we're going to have to ask that the student go to full remote if he's unwilling or she's unwilling to wear a mask in the building. And I don't think, from everything I've talked to about with other principals and other schools who have been face-to-face, and who are now not, but who have been there, they have said that that's really not a problem, that the students generally take this seriously. And I believe that Seaholm students will do that as well. I think the kids would just be really happy to be back and be willing to do what they need to do to make it safe. And I think that they're smart, they're intelligent young people, and they understand the need to comply in order for us all as an institution to function. And so I know that I have confidence that will happen.
Will you be doing a new survey if the start date gets pushed back past December 1st?
Not immediately, because we don't feel that the situation will change much. So I understand, and it very well may happen that the start date is pushed back, right? I think we can be all honest. We can look at that. We can see that that might happen because we're pushed into the red. I know that they look at numbers on Thursday, so I know that this is a definite possibility soon, very soon. I also know that even if we're in the red, they're still going to be looking at high school, saying, well, are we going to be ready to come back? Will things change? Well, it doesn't look like things will change, but we need to have that information for the second trimester. So what we'll do is we'll collect that information, and you are committing then to the trimester. Now, if it turns out it's at the end of the trimester, we definitely will survey you again, because things may have changed in our community, and we're happy to do that. And we'll look at third trimester separately. I don't think things are going to change like that. I don't know that a vaccine is going to be available this winter. I'm hearing more along the lines of April. So I think the second trimester we'll assess in 2-week chunks as we go through the trimester, but you are choosing and committing with this survey that is due tomorrow, if at all possible.
So we have a question about Flex. So Flex, though a very large classroom, has the availability of the entire auditorium, which seats almost 1,000 people. So half of Flex is about 60 kids, not to mention that some will probably go online only. I believe that Flex will meet in person just like any other class. We will make sure that we are utilizing the entire auditorium to socially distance them all in a safe way. And they all do have small groups availability in classrooms as well, which have also been socially distanced. Delos, you love parking. Here's a parking question for you. Do you need anything for parking permits for the kids, or can we assume there'll be plenty of parking available given the 2 cohorts?
So right now we are assuming that there will be plenty of parking spaces. We did not coordinate the parking plan yet. I will make sure we get that information out, but we would want basic information for you to know whose car belongs to them, just because things happen, headlights get left on, car windows are open. We would need to know who is parking in the lot. So as soon as we nail down that plan, we will share it with everyone, so that if your child is driving, you can be rest assured that they'll have a space, and that it will be secure, and that we can monitor the car.
If a student is ill, COVID or not, needs to quarantine, is a seamless way to convert to fully online. So every student, even on hybrid, is half online every day. So they're either in the AM cohort, and I see a question about this. So the cohorts haven't been established by central office yet. We are not making cohorts at the building level, but half the students will be in an AM cohort, and they will come in the morning, and then there'll be that break, and then the other half of students will come in the afternoon. So if they're already used to Zooming into all of their classes, if your student were to fall ill, instead of spending half the day online and half the day in person, they would just spend the full day online. Same teachers, same classes. There shouldn't be any, it should be a seamless transition to convert to fully online. And again, we don't have a lot of information about cohorts yet. That, again, is not being made at the building level. These decisions are made at the central office level. But the student body will be broken in half. We are believing it's probably alphabetical by last name, but we have not had that confirmed. And then if your student's in the AM cohort, they come in the morning. The schedule is on Mondays, first hour, second hour, third hour, and then on Tuesdays, fourth hour, fifth hour X block. Though there is a possibility that that could change, but they would come in the mornings, and then, you know, they would leave at that transition time, and then they would be at home for the afternoon, and then vice versa.
So you can see that you really have a full day. So it's a little misleading when you think AM. That AM simply means you're in the building and during the AM. In the afternoon, you're still at school, but you're doing that through the Zoom entrance. And back, just a little bit more information about the cohort. It does look likely that's we're trying to do what's similar to the elementary and the middle school. And in fact, we're trying to align somewhat with families. So if you have a middle schooler and you want to be on the same cohort, I also have received a couple of requests for people for cohorts, and we'll do what we can to accommodate you. I just don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but we're going to do everything we can. And Delois will be the one who will actually field some of those questions. So I'm happy to receive them, but I've been forwarding them on to her. And then she will be the one who will arrange it. And then the three of us will sit down together and talk about the logistics of that and what it's doing into the sizes, and if there's something we can do with accommodating and how we're going to do that. And then we'll let you know, we'll inform you. So you certainly can make the request, but we really don't know until and that's what partly the information we need from you to find out, because if we know that we're having small class sizes of, a small amount of people, then we can do more juggling. Okay.
As the middle school in Birmingham has not yet begun, is it reasonable to think the hybrid will start for high school in December? So I don't know.
I don't think it's reasonable, to be honest. Okay. But, and for a couple of reasons, it's not just the number of COVID cases, it's also staffing. We are experiencing right now 2 of our ASD classes that are no longer able to meet in the building because the teachers are out quarantined, and then the paras are out quarantined, or their family, their husbands, so it's staffing is a problem. And I know that, and I really appreciate your support of our teachers, because I'm going to be completely transparent here. And I see some push and pull with that. And some of our teachers are feeling a little beat up, not by you in particular, this community, but in our country and in the state, because they too have to make decisions. And so we do have staff who are considering retiring right now. And we do have staff who will be going on leaves. And then that means that we're looking for substitutes, but so is every other school. And I've been working, meeting with those other principals, and it's an issue. And it's not simply because they're afraid, or, it's because maybe they're a cancer survivor, or their husband or wife is a cancer survivor, or they have a child with an immune issue, or they have child care issues now because they're remote. So there are lots of reasons that it's difficult. It's certainly not simply that they're afraid to be here. And I really invite your patience and request your support of the teachers. You've always been so wonderful with that. And I know that they could, use a little love right now. So if you think that if you think your teacher's doing a good job, your kid's teacher's doing a good job, I would love to have you reach out and let him or her know, because I'm really seeing some flagging morale here, because, and a lot of it's, we miss the energy of the kids. You know, that's why we went into education. And so when we don't have that, it does get, you know, disenchanting, to say the least. And it just as a sidebar here with the, I'd ask you to encourage your children too, to put their cameras on, because it's really hard to talk and teach to a black box. And so you're going to be seeing some changes in that as well coming forward. We've been working with the central leadership about that, where we are going to require that the students' cameras be on. And so these are things, a few changes that are going to be made moving forward, that I think will make the Zoom experience a better experience, and more engaging experience for the kids and the teachers.
We have quite a few questions about the cohort. I can't change my screen because I'm recording. Ms. Haller, Ms. Resnick, can one of you share the image of the proposed cohort schedule, and we can kind of show, it's easier to understand if we see it?
That's going to take me a minute. Hang on.
But I think there's
So
quite a few.
Yeah, well, Delois does that because it would take me more than a minute. Mike, maybe you read the next question.
Sure. Is there a drop dead date where that we still may need to decide not to go in face-to-face before December 1st? Is there a drop dead date where we will still may decide not to go face-to-face before December 1st?
I would think before December 1st. You know, I don't know if there's a drop dead date. That tomorrow's the due date to let me know if you're coming. And you always have the option to be remote. Okay, you always have that option. Even if you choose hybrid, you can always go back. The real question, what we really need, and Mike, I think, mentioned, right now we're at about 20, I think you said it was
26.4 as of 3 o'clock today, to be specific.
Right. And that's a little higher than it was in August when we first started asking, but that makes complete sense, right? The numbers are a lot higher. So, so there are more people who are saying, okay, I'm not going to do that. Again, we honor your decision, whatever that decision is. We're just going to make it safe for you. But right now, that's the information we need to know, and we should be able to pivot actually pretty quickly. We're going to be ready December 1st for the return of our students. It may not happen. And so, but we will be coming back at some point. And so we'll have, then I love the idea that we'll be ready whenever that is. And then once we're ready, then we'll be able to more nimbly, if that's a word, go back and forth as needed with, you know, whatever the circumstances are that are directing our learning.
Okay. And hybrid, when kids are not in the classroom, is it mostly just live streaming, meaning nothing interactive and mostly watching a screen, or will they be able to be involved in class as they are currently with the Zoom model?
Well, that's the point of what we're trying to do, and trying to create use the technology to make the sound and the interaction between the two groups, the Zoomies and the Roomies, function really well. Like I said, as a former English teacher, we did a lot of class discussion, and I want both groups to be contributing because they both have really valuable ideas. So that is the plan. The plan is to have meaningful interaction, but there will not be the kinds of close collaboration of group work. Kids, you know, on occasion, we in the last couple of years have bought all sorts of little tables and high tops to put around the hallway so kids can sit down, and teachers can send them out into the hallway to work and collaborate and then come back in and make presentations. Those tables and chairs are going to be gone. They're not able to do that. We're not able to do that right now. So it is going to look different, but that doesn't mean we can't still have really meaningful interaction and interchanges. It will not be simply you walk into school and then you log in and put a headset on. That's not what we are looking for. Although it could happen occasionally, like I said earlier, for group discussion.
I'm ready with the schedule if you want me to share it.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So can everyone see that? Was I
Mhm.
successful?
Yep.
Okay, so as you can see, on Monday, let's just take that as an example, students in cohort A would report to the building for hours 1, 2, and 3. Half of the students, so that would be the half that are in cohort A, and then those that are in cohort B for 1, 2, 3, they would be at home on Zoom, getting the instruction at the same time that the students in the building would get the instruction for hours 1, 2, and 3. After third hour, there's the dismissal time where students go home, they have lunch. There's the changeover in classovers for cleaning. And then in the afternoon, students in cohort B would come for 4, 4, and 5. And those that were in the building in the morning are now at home doing Zoom for hours 4 and 5. And then there's X block for students that are in need of additional assistance with their classes. So students are still going to have 5 classes a day. Those that are opting for the face-to-face, they will have half of those classes, or however much of the percentage breaks down, face-to-face in the building, and the other part of their schedule will be on the Zoom. And then the next day they just flip. So the students that are in cohort A would now have hours 4 and 5 first thing in the morning, and those at home would log on to Zoom and have those class periods. And then again in the afternoon, cohort B would come for 1, 2, and 3 face-to-face. And you can see that, again, that the time is there for the changeover between the AM and the PM and getting kids in and out of the building in a socially distant manner. And then on Fridays, there's going to be an alternating Monday, Wednesday schedule so that so that there's a balance to the breakdown of what days you're in and what days are, on Zoom.
But as you can see, it doesn't matter if you're in the morning cohort or the afternoon cohort, you always see all of your teachers. So it's not like you only see your first, second, and third hour teacher in person, because on Tuesdays you'll see your fourth and fifth hour. Students will be familiar with how to be online because they'll be online for part of their day every day. And that large block, we have been told that's enough time for students to return home and have enough time to eat and get ready for their next hour. So, the morning cohort and the afternoon cohort, the AM, PM. Again, we haven't created these cohorts. It's being done by central office. And as soon as we know more, that information will go out.
And the other thing I want to mention that is really key to making this system work is that the students that are doing the face-to-face and they're 50% in the building and 50% at home, we really need the buy-in from those students to log in at home and be a part of those classes and not just say, well, I'm not there face-to-face, I don't care about the class. It really needs the buy-in to make the schedule work for them. They're going to miss that very important instruction if they are not taking the time to come in, log in after lunchtime, and to get into those classes as they need to be.
Okay. So we'll get back to our questions. All right, we set all the way to the bottom. The next question is, you mentioned labs and said there'd be distance. I think you had in mind chemistry or bio. Great. For lab, we require specific pieces of equipment. For example, technology, electronics. Will those still be able to use the equipment?
Right. Yes. Between students, we need to sanitize it. We are looking at different things to do that. Our IT department has told us what we can use to clean, like the keyboards, that we actually can use wipes on the keyboards themselves, those kinds of things. So we're working with our IT department to make sure that we're using the proper ways to sanitize. But again, everything needs to be sanitized before one student uses it or the next. I had a long conversation with Bernie Sims in the robotics area, and we're talking about how he's going to do that, how he can have one student working, and then it has to be sanitized before another student is working on that same equipment. And so, each teacher really is an expert in his or her field. And so all of the teachers have been really working with creative ways to figure this out. Like, how can I have this lab, or how can I have them still use this equipment? I know our computer teachers, and a lot of you have ninth graders in computer tech or are going to be in computer tech. And so that's a concern. I noticed a question go through about laptops. You know, I, as a parent, would, and if my kid had a laptop, I would say, yes, if you've checked out one from us, yes, bring your laptop in. Because even though you're not going into Zooming all the time, but you might on occasion, but not all the time, you still need to access Schoology, right? So some of the teachers have said, no, I still want them to have that because I don't want to hand out a bunch of papers and collect a bunch of papers. If they can do the work on their computer, their laptop, then that would function much more safely. So we are looking at ways to make sure that computers and that kind of thing are cleaned. But if you have your own, then maybe that's the way to go about it. I know one of our computer techs was asking me about they have the keyboard covers that you could put over the keyboard, and maybe those. So these are the things we're looking at, and we're going to try to nail down some of those items and those ways to clean equipment and disinfect equipment, and we'll have that figured out, or the students won't be able to use it. So it's kind of, it's safety first.
And as our teachers are looking at what they want to do for trimester 2, we are acquiring things as long as they are feasible. I spoke with Mary Galanka, our foods teacher. We're getting more things like measuring cups and things that kids would normally share, but are financially easily purchasable. But things like stand mixers are something they're going to have to do a little bit differently. Is there a way to request morning or afternoon cohort?
You may request it, and we will try to accommodate you. The requests go to Mrs. Skryzak, okay? But if you've requested it from Mike or me, we'll send it on to her. But yes, you can request it. I just don't know right now if if everybody wants the AM cohort, because your kids love to get up and get to school at 7:30. I mean, we're not going to be able to accommodate all that. But then others maybe it is a balance. Like maybe if your child is an athlete and wants to be here in the afternoon and go right to sports, then maybe that's best for him or her. So please feel free to ask and let us know why, and we will try to do everything we can, but we just can't promise that it will work for everyone.
We do not have a current mechanism of how we are exactly deciding, because we don't know how the cohorts are currently broken down. If we go back and forth between virtual and hybrid, do we keep the hybrid schedule virtually or revert to the current virtual schedule without such a long lunch?
So we're going to, I don't know this as a fact, but my thought is that we would keep the schedule that was shown you. And that, a lot of that has to do with some of the comments we've gotten about screen time. Some parents are really concerned about our current schedule and the amount of time that the students have to be in front of this screen almost uninterrupted. So that cushion between the AM and the PM can be that break that some of the students really need in order to process, in order to, rest their eyes, rest their brains, get that fuel, get themselves refueled for the afternoon. So I'm going to say it's going to stay there.
Will school start at 7:30 under the new hybrid schedule? Yes. Cohort A students will always go in the morning. Cohort B students will always go in the afternoon. I believe the answer to that is yes. Okay.
That is yes.
Can my junior on the swim team get a parking pass as a cohort student?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have for the first time in, I think, Seaholm's history, I don't think we'll have a fight over the passes.
But as
in fact, we're even talking about sophomores being able to, if they have their license, obviously, so I know, later on, maybe, some of them are rolling through and there might be a few, but we are in discussions with that. We've definitely had conversation about parking with Gross.
Yes, and we talked a little bit about possibly issuing parking passes by trimester only. So we might easily have enough parking for everyone and try 2 if we're hybrid. But if for some reason we go full-time, everyone back at once third trimester, then we would not have enough parking for everyone. So I think parking we're going to do by trimester basis. Is there a plan for freshmen who do not who do not know their way around the building? Are we doing something for just freshmen?
Yes, we definitely are. And I wish we could do more, but what our plan is, our request, and I think it was approved, right? Didn't they say yes to that?
Yes, it was.
When we get back on December 1st, the first day back, okay, let's say the first day back, okay, if it's December 1st, great. This first day back is a teacher day, okay? Teachers need to prep for this, okay? There are some teachers that have not been in the building and they need to learn all of that equipment and everything. So, and that's what's happened at the elementary school and the middle school. So our first day back will be for teachers. The second day we want to be for freshmen, just the freshmen. Freshmen come in and we do some mentoring and we do some fun activities with them. We make sure they know where they're going in the building. And it just, I think, will give them a little breather. And I don't know if you had a child here before and a senior and you've seen the clap out. Well, we want to have a clap in, okay, for our freshmen. I think they deserve it. They are in a tough spot. And we can't wait to see them. And we're going to make it a special day for them. So our second day back, first day back for teachers, second day back. So the kids are going to, it's a couple days that we're going to ask your patience with, but we think both of those things are crucial to really a good experience for our students returning.
So for all virtual, are they fully part of regular classes, or are they able to interact with their teachers and classmates, or is it a separate program? If so, is Zoom based the current plan? So yes, currently we have a program with a floating mic in the center of the room and using the Clever Touch board and a webcam that our students who are at home, our Zoomies, can talk to and hear their cohorts in the hybrid program in person, the roomies, and the teacher will have a microphone that they can speak to not only directly to the people on Zoom, but also will be amplified through new speakers in the ceiling. So it will be a fully interactive group. I mean, seamless might be a strong word, but we hope that our kids in person and our kids on Zoom can hear each other and talk to one another, and they can both interact with the teacher.
Right. And we went over to, the three of us went over to BCS to, look at some of what was going on over there. And I mean, it is pretty exciting. And I've watched our teachers here. I've gone into the classrooms. I've been in the Zooms. They are, they're good at multitasking. And so watching over at BCS to see the kids talking to the kids and the kids on the Zoom, talking to the kids in the room, to the teacher making sure that he or she is asking both sets of kids to provide their examples. And there's nothing like, this was third and fourth grade, that every student had his hand up. I don't think I've ever witnessed that here at the high school, but it was wonderful to see. And I think the teachers really navigated that well. It might take them a little bit, okay, right there at the beginning, as anything new is, but I have a lot of confidence in the staff, and I think they're gonna do a great job.
Very much looking forward to my child being in school in the hybrid to the greatest extent possible. Do masks need to be N95, or is the standard cloth mask okay?
Standard cloth mask is fine. You don't have to wear. In fact, I don't think it's encouraged or healthy for a student to wear an N95 all day. But just a regular mask, but it has to be worn correctly, and it can't have holes in it, things like that. But the designer ones are usually, they're out there now being sold, and that's great. We have some that our PTA bought us that have our little emblem on it. I have some that are maroon here that we've been giving to staff. So just a safe mask, a paper mask is fine. Just a safe mask. You
can also purchase Seaholm masks at the Maple Tree online store, your one-stop shop for all your Seaholm needs.
Right.
If things stay steady, will there be a consideration for full day? Will vaccines be mandatory once available?
So we've been talking about full day. We have not gotten to that point yet, but we have been, as part of our plans for the hybrid, been talking about what this will all look like in full day. So it's under consideration. We know that everyone is anxious to get back to that time, because then that will seem like, we've turned a corner and come back to the way things were. We're not there yet, but as I said, we're making plans to get there. And we don't have any information about the vaccines. We all know that we heard the news the other day that, spring looks like the time for rollout. We don't have any news as to what will be the expectation of those.
Yeah, I believe that's more of a school board central office policy than Seaholm policy. So another question about freshmen. Our freshmen will have their own day to all themselves, so we can have them come and feel special and have an understanding, get to know where their classrooms are, and have a time that we can understand that they need a little TLC, as they have attended class for a third of their freshman year almost and have only spent time in the building to take a standardized exam. Any results from the survey available today? As of earlier today, I looked, it was, I believe I said 26.2 or 26.4% of families are requesting online only, and then the resulting 73.8 or something like that. So it's about 75-25, which is a little
Correct.
bit larger than before. When we originally gave out the survey in August, it was about 80-20.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a next question about, is the district saying there can be no full-time face unless the COVID vaccine is readily and widely available for all students and teachers? Has BPS discussed other criteria outside of the vaccine for a move back to full-time face-to-face if possible? I've watched the board meetings and read the materials, and I'm unclear on the long-time criteria of this. There's been no mention of vaccines. I haven't heard anyone talk anything about vaccines or any of that being criteria for return for full-time face-to-face. So no.
I know there are board members that is their goal, and I know that that we know that a lot of studies show the best thing for kids is to be face-to-face in person full day, and we just want to make sure to get there that we're doing it in the way that's safest for our staff and students.
If you report your child is not feeling well and symptoms are consistent with a cold or a flu, is a test required to return to school prior to 14 days? If your child has a cold or a flu and is not COVID positive, then there's no test to return to school. If they are COVID positive, there is a request for a test to return to school. Teachers are valuable and we care for their own and family safety. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for your honest response on this. Yes, our parent community needs to be more supportive of the difficult choices for teachers, administrators, and the district are making. Excellent point. Thank you very much. Teachers doing a great job so far. Shout out to Flex and Orchestra. Yep, I agree. Shout out. How will freshmen get a building orientation? We've talked about that. That will hopefully happen on December 2nd when we roll out the hybrid plan. Will it be required that the teacher teach live from the classroom? Yes. For this hybrid plan, the requirement is for teachers to teach for the classroom. Love and appreciate all my son's teachers, their commitment and enthusiasm, keep him feel supported. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to the staff. Again, thank you all for all the thank yous. It's much needed, on tough days. It's really appreciated. What options is the district exploring to expand the pool for substitutes? Are temporary changes to criteria being considered, given this is a very unique situation with a pandemic with broad import across state and country? I don't know if the criteria has changed. I do know that there was a call put out to the community at large that if you believe you can meet the criteria to be a substitute, there is someone at the central office, and Kyle and Mike, please help me with the name, that parents are supposed to send an email to.
For what?
Is it Audra? For if parents would like to become a substitute. I don't know if it's Audra or not.
Oh yeah, Audra Melton, right? Melton. Yeah, Audra Melton has been hired just to help with, gosh, we would love to have parents have come in and help with that. That would be great. And we do have 3 building subs. Mike and I interviewed a young lady today. They've eased the permissions a little bit. This young lady is graduating this year from Wayne State. She has a degree in science, and she's agreed to be she's doing her student teaching right now. She's agreed to be a building sub. So we're looking for really good, strong people to help us out with subs. So yeah, that would be Audra Melton over at the central office.
So can you confirm that kids can always go back to virtual even if we signed up for face-to-face initially? Well, so the hybrid or face-to-face always will incorporate a virtual portion. There is no, so if your student.
But if you want to go back all virtual, yes, you definitely, we are confirming right now. Yes, you can always go back to all virtual if you are if anytime uncomfortable and or would like to do that. So as Mike said, half of your day is virtual anyway, but you can go back all virtual, but you just can't come from all virtual and go back face to face.
There's a question about XBlock. If you want to can you share the schedule again, Delois?
Sure.
So XBlock exists both in the morning and the afternoon. So it does not matter which cohort that you're in. So in the morning cohort, on Mondays, it's 1, 2, 3. And then on Tuesday, it's 4, 5 XBlock. So you can see that the AM cohort gets an XBlock every other day. And then I'm pointing at my screen, which none of you can see, which is kind of silly, and you can see in the afternoon, they have 4, 5 XBlock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 XBlock. So there's an XBlock for both cohorts. So it does not matter if you are in the AM cohort or the PM cohort, you will have an XBlock where you are in the building. So no cohort is being favored one way or the other when dealing with.
Yeah, and I do have to say there was some question about changing that to make sure that to have it in the morning, the XBlock first thing in the morning on the AM cohort rather than later, and because part of the problem is XBlock is usually a time where kids can either come in late and or they can go see their teachers, right? So we can't have kids just roaming around. We have to know where they are all the time. So we're going to have assigned seating during XBlock. That's something we're working on. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow morning with some of the teachers to talk about that. How are we going to do this? What is the best way? And if a kid has his licenses driven, or if the mom or dad can come pick him up and he doesn't have XBlock, he doesn't want to go to XBlock, that's fine. But what do we do with the kids who are on the bus? So we have to have a place for them where there's a seating chart. And so we're wondering if it's something that the kids would still appreciate having it in the morning, that 7:30 or the fourth hour if they're in the PM, rather than have it at the end of the day. So that's something that we're looking for a little input on. And we're talking to the teachers, we'll talk to some of the students, but that is something that may change. But we'll see.
We have a question. Is there a way we can switch AM and PM cohort for face-to-face? So we believe there's going to be a mechanism to switch if you are assigned AM to PM, but there is probably not going to be an option where you can switch back and forth throughout the trimester. So,
yeah, and a lot of that has to do with scheduling. Like if a lot of the elementary students are in cohort A and they've got a sibling, the families want to be on the same cohort, so that to go back and forth, it would not work out. That would just kind of muck up the works.
So the day starts at 8:30. Why start earlier? It's because we need to capture the time for transportation, because we need to have the time to transport kids in the AM cohort to school and then transport the AM cohort kids home and give them time for lunch and return the PM cohort kids to school and vice versa. So,
and make sure elementary is taken to school and BCS and middle school. So it's, as often happens, transportation basically directs a lot of what we do.
So yes, so right now, when we start on December 1st or whenever we go back in face-to-face hybrid, the school day will start at 7:30. If you want to request a certain cohort, you can email Ms. Spryzak. And if you've already done so, you can also, if you have emailed myself or Ms. Hall already, we have your request. But if you haven't, Ms. Spryzak is coordinating this. We do not know the mechanism for parking passes yet. So I have a question here. As soon as we know how we are doing parking passes, that information will be disseminated through Blackboard, and we will get it taken care of ASAP. If I've submitted my survey, how can I make a change? Ms. Hall, how do we make a change? Do we have them resubmit on the survey a second time?
Will it allow that?
I don't know.
No. You know what? You can try that. And if it doesn't work, please email me for that. Okay. So if you email me for that, I will make sure. If you want to make a change, you're thinking, after all this information, which is why we had this meeting and why I was going to share a lot of this next week at our PTA meeting. But I really started thinking, well, if we're asking you to make a decision, you need this information. So I if you want to change your mind, I absolutely understand. Just send an email to me and we will make sure that you're put in the proper cohort or remote as you wish.
How will band be handled? So band, choir, and orchestra are 3 largest classrooms. We are looking at different spaces such as the stage in the auditorium, parts of the cafeteria, removing things in those classrooms in order to maximize space. As far as I know, those classes will be being held. And how it's going to be done is going to be a combination of space availability and a lot of creativity on our great music staff's part.
Yeah, our music, staff is phenomenal. I was meeting with John Hummel yesterday. He was telling me some of the things that he's going to do for choir. Tim and I speak regularly, and Nick is just doing a phenomenal job with the orchestra as well. If you saw those links, I mean, your kids are so talented, and I would hate to see that they not have music as a part of their lives. I think it's a gift that we need to maintain for our kids. So music is great. We will continue that. We'll figure it out so that they can play in person if they're here in the hybrid, and that they'll also have an opportunity to be a part of the band even through Zoom. It's not gonna be easy, but they'll do it.
Will seniors get priority for requesting which cohort they prefer?
No.
I don't have a response for that. I don't think there's a preference for related to grade level. Yeah.
Will any of the teachers not be in the classroom but on Zoom?
No, not fully unless they are ill. Okay, so that was not an option for teachers because we don't have a virtual academy. We only have remote learning. So the kids are streaming into the classroom. So that is one of the reasons that we have some staff who are considering leaves and retirement. So no, the teacher, unless the teacher's ill or quarantined and feels like they can function at home, he or she can function at home. Otherwise, we'll get a sub for the room.
Will there be any fans in the classroom or other interventions to move the air around? It has been shown through researchers at U of M that moving the air around with fans can decrease the viral load indoors. I know that they have gone through, every classroom has a air system in it, and they've been changing out the filters throughout the whole building to the highest rating, and I don't know the number, but there is already an air circulation system in the building that hopefully is doing that. Delos, as procedures, do you have any more details on that?
Just exactly what you said. The filters are being looked at, and as you know, Mike, when we went in to do our setup in that sample classroom, you can hear the air moving in the classroom. That air handler is there in the room, and the air is being circulated through there. So that is definitely something that the facilities has been working on probably since back in the summer in terms of those filters and making sure that the air is circulating in and throughout the building, and we can definitely hear it and feel it when we're in there.
Certainly, we can put that down as a note for something to look into, but we would never want to inadvertently do something in a way that would compromise the safety, because even well-intentioned, that what if like a fan might be good, but there might be parameters about how to use the fan, and I would want to make sure that we follow those. So I've made a note here. That's something we can look at. I know I was in someone's office; they had their window open, fan on, and so I'm not at all doubting that might be a good idea. I just want to make sure that we're doing and following that procedure safely.
Okay, a little shout out, the Bloomfield Sports and the PTA are doing a fundraiser as well, so don't forget about that. Will you also be giving the freshmen who are choosing virtual a day when they can tour and which they can come back as well?
I hadn't thought about that. I can put down a note for that, but I'm assuming they don't want to be in the building. So I don't know, but I'll make a note of that, and we can certainly consider that.
Little shout out for First Friday. Everyone gets excited about that.
Absolutely.
How can the AM cohorts see their teachers in person on X Block? Are they allowed to come back up to school for X block. So both AM and PM cohorts have an X block as part of their day before they will need to be dismissed. It'll be every other day. Neither AM nor PM cohorts are missing an X block. So the schedule is 1, 2, 3 for the AM cohort, 4, 5 X block for the PM cohort. And then the next day, the AM cohort is 4, 5 X block. And then the PM cohort is 1, 2, 3. So both cohorts every other day will have an opportunity to have an X block in person in the building. So right now it's about 75-25, a question on the in-person versus hybrid, with about 60% of the parents responding. It's about 75-25, 75 return as part of hybrid, 25 online only. We have a request for the AM and PM cohort to be flipped. We will talk about that. Is a larger issue with elementary school, middle school, and high school, as well as Groves, but we will definitely keep that in mind. I have a request to make sure we're enforcing proper and consistent mask use. That is definitely going to be something that we are looking into as an administrative team. I mean, myself and Ms. Spryzak, that is, discipline is our least favorite part of our roles, but is a part of our roles. So as we've told the teachers at our staff meeting on Monday, the reason why we have an all virtual option, if you do not feel comfortable wearing a mask in school, we have an opportunity for you to take classes fully online. But if you choose to return to the building, you'll need to wear your masks all the time.
Right. So if you don't wear your mask, then you'll be asked to go into the virtual realm, the Zoomie. You'll become a Zoomie.
If the hybrid model doesn't happen on December 1, will the start time still be 8:30?
Well,
I don't believe we talked about that yet.
Right. So we will discuss that. I know that start time. I mean, we love it too. Okay. So, but we'll be looking at that if things are pushed back, and we'll be sure we make an announcement. We just, again, have to make sure that we're aligning with the middle school because we share teachers and students. So whatever we can do, I think it would still work if we start a little bit later because we wouldn't need the time at lunch, but we definitely will consider that. And so again, I have an important note that we'll be sure that if we don't start, and again, I think a lot of us are wondering if that's not likely, then we will make sure that even if we follow that same schedule, that maybe we can build in that morning by taking some out of that lunch, right? So we'll see what we can do about that. I think our kids have kind of communicated that they like that time, and the teachers do too, because that's time that they can use for prep and for meetings. We like it because we sometimes call a quick meeting with teachers before that too, and it's been really helpful. So we're very open to that.
Delos, can you share the schedule one more time so we can see it? The question is, the start time 7:30 for everyone, virtual or hybrid? Yes. So when we go back to our hybrid, there is the picture. So if you are an AM cohort and you are starting in person at 7:30, or if you're the B cohort or PM cohort, you will also start at 7:30, but you will start just online and vice versa. And you can see, here is our AM X block and here is our PM X block. So there is an X block. I guess you're right because you can't see my mouse because I'm not sharing my screen. Thank you, Delos. That you can see that everyone gets an X block, and then Fridays will be every other day. So every other week, your student will actually have 3 X blocks in any given week, and the other week you will only have 2. So we are maintaining the same amount of X block as we are in a normal school year, and then we might even have a little bonus X block, every other week for the kids. Okay. If the hybrid model does not start, they would like us to stay at the 8:30. That will be we will recommend that. We'll take note, but some of that is still going to be decided about the interaction between Seaholm, Groves, and the middle schools. Will the bus take kids to Groves, or can they drive themselves? Are there classes that are only in person, i.e. robotics?
Well, we were just having this conversation, okay, with Groves admin, and and Mike and I went in today, we looked at the media center. Is it possible that, and this is if you wanted, we will have the shuttle, okay? So a student can go over and take his class, bottom line. But if you didn't want that, like if a parent didn't want that to happen, we are looking at other possibilities of maybe having a room, like the media center would be used for students who would then zoom in to their class over at Groves rather than use the bus. Okay, so that's a possibility that we're seriously looking into. But we have some of those classes are essential to our students. So we have to continue them. We have to be able to get the kids there. We've also talked a little bit about, can the kids drive themselves over there rather than use the bus? Can a parent do that? And we're looking into all of those things, because if that makes you feel safer, then we may opt to do that. And we're just going to finalize those details, but we're in serious conversations about that.
Are there any classes that are only in person? No, there's no. Every class will have the ability to zoom in. There are no only in-person classes. First Friday is a fun thing. I see a question. First Friday, families donate things to the teaching staff, and then we have a raffle on the first Friday of every month, and we call them down. And in our normal days, you hear them running down the hallways and having fun. And it's just a way for the community to give back to the hardworking teachers and staff members at Seaholm. Will you be able to change back to virtual at any point after school starts for folks that went face-to-face originally? Yes. So if you chose to go hybrid and you want to go all virtual, you can. But if you chose to start all virtual, we cannot we cannot have you switch into hybrid. I asked about the virtual freshmen touring the building and having a day. I meant when the virtual crew are actually back in person, not right now.
Oh, yeah, that makes complete. Okay, thanks for clarifying. Yes, that would make a lot of sense, and we'll figure something out with that.
How much do the survey results drive the district's decision to return to school?
I'm sorry, I was writing.
How much do the survey results drive the district's decision to return to school?
I don't think that's a district thing. That's a building level. As we showed you the classroom, we're really trying to make sure that we have, capacity for the face-to-face. So a lot of that comes from the survey, and transportation. We actually needed to know how many students would avail themselves of transportation as we're looking at the schedule. So those are all building level concerns for that.
Right. It really doesn't impact whether we're going back or not. We are going back. It just impacts us on how, and how we're going to be doing that. So it doesn't impact the decision really at all.
Okay. Some more kind words to all the hard work of the Seaholm staff, but it looks like those are all the questions, which is perfectly timed because it is 5:28.
Okay. But, well, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, but if you have any other further questions, I think the easiest way, if your student is a 9th or 10th grader, I am the 9th and 10th grade AP, you can direct questions directly to me, and then Delois is 11 and 12, just so you're not wondering who should I ask a question to, you can direct them to us. Cohort A students will always go in the morning, cohort B students will always go in the afternoon. That was the plan. It sounds like we have some desire for some people to possibly flip-flop that. That's going to be a decision that's not made at the building level, but Ms. Hall has written that down as something to talk about.
And so I want to thank you for coming today, and I hope this was helpful. I really do appreciate your patience. I know that we always say we're going to communicate, and it just never seems to be enough. And so I apologize if we have not been clear and in communicating, but I'm always open for any questions that you have. If you send me emails, I do take time to respond. If I don't, that means I've missed it. So email me again. Like sometimes they do get buried, but I respond to every email that I see. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all the kind things that you said today. And we really, really want our kids back, and we want you to know that, but we want it to be done safely for the staff and for your children, who are your most precious commodity, and ours as well. Okay, so you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and again, just let us know what you need. And I just want you to know, I think we're all sitting here wondering and looking at our email, or looking at what the governor's going to do, and looking where we're going if we're moving. And I don't know, but it seems like we're going to be moving into the red. But I promise we will be ready, okay, December 1st. And if it's not on December 1st that we come back, these plans will still go into effect as we move forward. And we will be ready to safely receive your children and our students, and we're eager to do that. So thank you so much for coming tonight, and take care, stay safe yourselves. Okay, we really enjoy working with you, and please come to our PTA meeting next week. Okay, and that way we can update you on a few things. And we have recorded this, so it'll be on our website, and you can tell your friends if they miss this wonderful program that they can find it there. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. And one last shout out for First Friday. If you'd like to make a donation, please contact PTA. I see some people on PTA asking me to repeat that. So if you'd like to make a donation, please contact the Seaholm PTA about taking part in this great program.
Right. And for all your spirit wear, divide your space between the maple tree and the PTA. Okay.
Thanks, guys.